As I'm sure most of you already know by now, Deontay Wilder's next opponent has been formally announced. He had a press conference and he'll be fighting a guy called Johann Duhaupas in the second defense of his WBC heavyweight title. For those of you who don't know, Johann Duhaupas is a French heavyweight, and I believe I'm getting that pronunciation right, but correct me if I'm wrong. He's a French heavyweight, he's 6'5". I've only actually seen him fight once, and that was against Erkan Teper, the guy who just knocked out David Price in 2 rounds. And he went a distance with Teper. Johann Duhaupas has never been stopped before. He went a distance with Teper, and it was actually a pretty good fight. But a lot of people are asking the obvious question, why is Teper not getting the title shot instead of Duhaupas, the guy who lost to Teper? And that is a very fair, valid, and understandable question. People don't like the fact that Deontay Wilder was fighting substandard opposition in his lead up to challenging for the heavyweight title, and since winning the heavyweight title, he seems to be back to fighting substandard opposition. And his last opponent, Eric Molina, gave him more problems than most people expected. So Johann Duhaupas, from what I've seen of him, is better than Eric Molina on paper anyway. And again, from judging from the Teper fight, he seems to be more competent, tougher than Molina, and what have you. Remember, Molina was knocked out in 1 round by Chris Arreola. And personally, I think that Teper at this stage is probably better than Arreola, or certainly better than the Arreola who knocked out Eric Molina in 1 round. So yeah, I think Duhaupas is definitely a step up from Eric Molina, but still not really a worthy heavyweight title challenger. But just in the interest of fairness, it's not like Deontay Wilder is the only heavyweight champion or the only champion to fight substandard opposition during his title reign. Very substandard opposition. If you go back to the 70s when George Foreman was heavyweight champion, he knocked out Joe Frazier in 2 rounds. And in his first defense, I believe it was his first defense, he fought a guy called Jose Roman, a guy who, without being disrespectful, had no hope in hell against George Foreman. The guy was literally plucked from obscurity to fight for the world title against George Foreman. I believe that fight was it in Japan, that fight? It was I think it was somewhere off the beaten track. I think it was in Japan, but correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, Wilder's not the first heavyweight champion to do this kind of thing, and he won't be the last. We'll see what Duhaupas brings to the table against Wilder. Like I say, he is a big guy, he's 6'5", he can bang a little bit himself, seems to be tough, fights out of a tight guard a lot of the time, but does snap a jab here and there. He's a little bit slow of foot, and that'll obviously favor Wilder. But coming off a relatively poor performance against Eric Molina, you have to wonder whether Duhaupas might actually have a chance in this fight, because Molina appeared to rock Wilder once or twice in their fight, and Duhaupas, like I say, being a big guy himself and I think tougher and a bit better than Molina, maybe Duhaupas can do something similar. I think it's, not beyond the realms of possibility that he could. Or maybe even go one better and maybe drop Wilder or possibly beat him. And you have to make Wilder the favorite, but I don't think it's as bad a fight as most people will assume. I think it's actually an okay fight as fights go, simply for the fact that Wilder looked so poor in his last fight. As a heavyweight title fight, no, I can't defend it. Duhaupas doesn't deserve a title shot, and that's the end of that. But like I say, given how vulnerable Wilder looked in his last fight, don't be surprised if this turns out being competitive. So drop your comments below, people. Let me know how you feel about this one. Like I say, I understand most people are upset. Duhaupas certainly does not deserve a title shot. There's no question about that. People are saying Wilder's back to fighting cab drivers since he beat Stavern. I can understand that. But like I say, sorry to labor the point, but Wilder looks so vulnerable against Eric Molina, a guy he was supposed to blow out in a couple of rounds. What makes you think that this fight against Duhaupas won't be just as competitive, if not more so? Let me know in the comments below. It's happening. I'm out.